It's obviously a huge fight. You're no stranger to moments like this. Just when you got Kayla Harrison's name on this card, what was your first reaction? Microphone.
It's a long day for me too. I didn't know who they were going to have me fighting. We'd been calling, and just seeing who there was because it had been a while, and I was wanting to get back in there. And I saw a lot of people getting scheduled. A lot of the girls were already having fights coming up, and I was thinking, who else is there? We saw 300 was getting full with all the announcements, and I think one time in passing, my manager was like, "You never know. I mean, it could be Kayla," and which isn't something I always kind of thought maybe at some point in my, martial arts career that it possibly could happen, but really wasn't anything that I really actually thought, would be close or really come to fruition. But when they called, and that was the first I heard of it, was about probably an hour before everybody else heard about it, and I was excited.
Why did you decide to bring Chris Cyborg in for this camp? How did you find that beneficial, given that they kind of have different stances and different styles?
Having another girl that's strong and my size and competed at the top level is always going to be a good training partner. So it's obviously she didn't come in to just stand as a righty and try and throw bombs or anything like that, but she's a very well-rounded fighter, and it was, I have great training partners at home. I always have. I've been very blessed with being able to have good training partners and a good camp and a good team. But to have another female that's my size and of a strong physique and give me that feel was great. I have nothing but positive things to say about training with her.
And okay, so let's get this one out of the way now. Ronda Rousey has released this book, and she's made a lot of revelations. She said she was concussed when she fought you, had many concussions before. She should be known as the greatest fighter ever, et cetera, et cetera. What's just your reaction when you hear this? Do you feel like she's trying to take away from your win all these years later? Do you think this is accurate? Just give us your thoughts.
Well, so everything I say, which I'm sure people will just take parts of what I'm about to say and make it sound how you guys want. I say this all out of respect. In order to have a big upset like that fight was, you have to have a dominant champion. So without her being so dominant, then I couldn't have been able to have such an upset. But with that being said, I was the better fighter. I was the better fighter that night. And every fighter at this point, if you've made a career of fighting, you've had a concussion at some point. You go back and look at some of my boxing fights and some of the things that I've done, I've definitely had some concussions. So I'll never sit here and use that as an excuse for any loss. And I think that it's probably just hard for her to really want to maybe admit that I was just the better fighter. Was she so dominant and a good champion? 100%. I give her that. But she wasn't better than me, and especially that night.
No, fair enough. Last thing on this fight, if you win this one, spoil Kayla's debut, the division's wide open, we've had title changes, Amanda's gone. Do you feel like you're right there? I mean, everyone's talking about what Kayla's going to be capable of doing, but what are you capable of?
I'm capable of holding that belt again, and no matter who is there, even if Amanda was still fighting, I would want to get that rematch as well. So no matter who has the belt, I know that I'm still capable, strong enough, healthy enough to be able to hold that title again. So that's my goal.
Sorry, one more. What's your thoughts on Mike Tyson coming back to box Jake Paul?
I know a lot of people are worried about Mike Tyson. Some of them are saying, what about his age and stuff like that? But I think it's awesome. You only live once, and it's not like he hasn't been in there. He knows exactly what it takes to get in there. He knows what a fight is, and I love that he still has this passion that he wants to put out there, and I'm excited to watch him. I mean, he's still, he definitely is he's the fastest and most powerful at, being a heavier weight. You look at his actual speed and power. So obviously it's not the same as what he was, when he was in his prime, but I want to watch it. I'm curious to see how it comes.
Right here. Looking back, I think before Kayla, you were really the last big marquee free agent that they signed that was a female fighter from another sport, and you made your debut in LA as the co-main event against the current champion and now Kayla's making her debut at UFC 300 against the former champion. So, I guess, what do you think is going through her mind? Like, it's because you're pretty much one of the only fighters that has done what she's doing right now.
From my mindset, I know the nerves that I felt going into it, but I still feel them to this day, because I feel like if you really don't care, then maybe you wouldn't be nervous, and that's when you need to worry. I know that there's a lot coming into it, not knowing exactly what to expect, but there's a reason why she's been at the top in more than one aspect of, her journey. Is like she's been in the Olympics and she's been in the PFL, so in order to be at the top and be a winner, she obviously knows what it takes. It takes hard work, it takes dedication, and she's a strong athlete. So I'm expecting a strong, tough Kayla. I expect her to be the best she's ever been, and I'm ready for it.
You said you always thought there might be a small chance that you face Kayla, but did you think you would be at 135 pounds, given that her career's been 145, 155?
No, I definitely didn't think it would be, this soon or at 135. And I never even put that much thought into it. I just, sometimes I would watch and just think, I wonder if her and I ever, cross paths, because that's happened a lot through boxing and MMA. I watch from the outside and I think, I wonder if I'll ever do that. And then, I did it. When I first started boxing, it's like, I wonder if I'll ever fight for a title. And then I fought for a title, and then 3 different weight divisions, and they say 19 times. I don't even know exactly how many times I, defended and fought for belts, and that was crazy to me to think that. And then I said I want to be a champion in also MMA, and I was the first female to ever do it, and the only, actually. I still think I still stand as the only one to do it. So I definitely have that in me, to want to just conquer whatever comes my way. And so maybe because of having so many opportunities that came my way that I wasn't really sure if would even happen, did happen. I think maybe that's why I always leave space for it. So I would see her fight and think, I wonder if I'll ever fight her.
And was there any hesitation to take it at 135, considering she hasn't made this weight in years?
No, there was no hesitation. I feel like an athlete, especially a professional athlete, they know what they're signing up for, so I expect her to be on weight and be ready to rock and roll.
Final one for me, 2 quick ones. Can I get your thoughts on the main event and then the BMF fight between Justin and Max?
Gosh, Justin and Max, I feel like it's just, let's roll the dice and flip a coin. Those guys are so explosive and can win in multiple ways that it's just kind of, I'm definitely excited to watch it. And the main event, especially with the bigger guys like that, you always wonder if and when a knockout might happen. So I feel like either of those fights is definitely going to be, sit on the edge of your seat type fight.
Holly in the back. We've seen you get ready for a high-level judoka before. How much different was the camp and the approach to the camp for Kayla?
These are very different camps. Their styles very different, different stances, different strengths, different weaknesses. They're definitely 2 different fighters, and so there's a few things that I took over from what I learned with my training camp for Ronda, but this is a totally different fighter. I'm not fighting Ronda, I'm fighting Kayla, and she has her own strengths and things that we needed to really sit down and depict and or to pick apart, and that's what we did.
And there's so many comparisons with the Ronda fight to the Kayla fight, with them both being judo players. How much different of a fighter are you now from UFC 193?
I'm definitely a different fighter now than I was at UFC 193. I learned a lot. UFC 193, that was only my 3rd fight in the UFC. And I had some fights before actually getting signed with the UFC, but not a lot. And considering that the very first time I even trained any mixed martial arts was for my first fight. It's like, this is how you get up. And I just repped that over and over and over. So I was still fairly green with a lot of, the clinch and groundwork and things like that when I first signed with the UFC. And I was training and learning this whole time, but I'm better and more well-rounded now than I was back then.
Thank you.